Welcome to the Respectful Divorce Podcast. If you're considering a divorce, it's important to know that you have options for how you divorce. On the Respectful Divorce Podcast, we explore those options and provide advice from divorce professionals. I'm your host, Tim Crouch, and today we're talking with Cynthia Lauriston, a collaborative divorce attorney in Fort Lauderdale. Cynthia, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me to speak with everyone today.
So we're doing this podcast as part of the Divorce with Respect Week that's coming up March 1st through 8th. And it's an interesting name, Divorcing with Respect, because most people don't think you can do that divorce is hard fought, it's mean-spirited, all of those kinds of things. So what does it mean to divorce with respect?
Well, I think that divorcing with respect means going through a divorce and making decisions where both parties still can compromise and make decisions to better themselves. And if there are children involved, to make decisions that will keep both parties on good standing so that they can be able to co-parent for the sake of their children. So divorcing with respect to me is going through the divorce process without a fight, making decisions that are sound, reasonable, and fair so that at the end of it, both parties can still remain in good terms.
And with the traditional kind of divorce process, the litigated process, that's much harder to achieve, isn't it?
Yes, it is much harder to achieve because both parties are filing motions and one person can get upset at another motion that one person files, and they can make decisions, emotional decisions rather than rational decisions.
So when we begin to think about the options, one of the options for divorce is to go down that litigated path or to go to a non-adversarial process such as mediation or collaborative. How are those processes different from the litigated process?
I think with the mediated process or with the collaborative process, both parties can sit down and speak to each other with their attorneys present and still make sound decisions with their attorneys, but attempt to have it be amicable.
And one of the parts of collaborative is that it's ultimately the couple that's making the decisions. It's not a third party. It's not a judge or someone else telling them how they're going to live their lives.
Right. It's you're making the decision yourself as opposed to going into court, going in front of a judge and having the judge tell you how you're going to live your life. Right. So in the collaborative process, you have those specific professionals that are there to help you arrive at the best decisions for your family.
Okay, and that sets up perfectly that next question. Let's talk about those professionals, one of whom is your own collaborative attorney, but there's some neutrals that bring a lot to the process, right?
Right. There's some neutrals that bring a lot to the process. If there are children involved, you may have a therapist, a parenting coordinator. When it comes to the financials, in order to best determine the equitable distribution, then you may have an accountant or a forensic accountant help you through those documents to help you understand those numbers better.
Yeah, and because sometimes in a divorce, one member of the couple is probably more aware of the family's finances than another, and part of this is you got to get everybody up to speed.
Right. You have to get everybody up to speed and you have to understand the finances to be able to make reasonable decisions, So if you don't understand the numbers, then you may not understand what you're giving up or what your compromise is.
The other neutral professional then is a mental health professional, a divorce coach or communications coach. What do they do in the process?
Well, a mental health professional can help if there are children involved. A mental health professional can help the parties and the children go through the process. Divorce is mentally something that everyone will have problems going through the process because it's a change for yourself and it's a change for your children. So being able to understand that and go through the process mentally of divorce, having a specialist there to help you through that is very beneficial.
Well, and they're able to really advise you on how to set up a good parenting plan.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. They will be able to speak to the needs of the family. They'll hear from the mother, they'll hear from the father, and they'll be able to help the parties arrive at a parenting plan that is specific and that will help the parties co-parent from then until the children attain their age of majority.
So for the attorney in a collaborative case, you have been specially trained in collaborative. How is the role of an attorney in a collaborative case different from the role of the attorney in any of the other divorce-related processes?
Right. So it's one thing to be in litigation, filing motions back and forth. And then it's another thing to be able to just sit down and in a collaborative process and give your client sound legal advice so that they can arrive at a decision without the fight. So when we are in the collaborative process, we're essentially attempting to eliminate that back and forth litigation and fight, if you will.
And so what you have, in essence, in this collaborative team is you've got the legal experts to advise you on legal decisions. You've got the mental health professional that is helping you to hear the other side, but also make parenting decisions. And then you have the financial professional who's advising you on financial decisions.
Correct.
But they're all advising you. They're not telling you what to do.
Right. At the end of the day, my client will make the decisions, but they will be equipped with all the information in order to help them make that decision that is best for themselves and their families.
So why did you decide that you wanted collaborative to be part of your practice?
Yes, because certain families, when I am approached by different clients, the collaborative approach is an approach that will suit certain families and that will best be able to equip them to make decisions without a fight. So if someone comes to me and is really intent on just going through the process amicably, I think, if the other party is open to it, I think that the collaborative process is the best process in order to have the parties sit down with the professionals and allow them to make sound decisions without having to go in and litigate.
I've heard some people that have said, yeah, you got all these professionals involved. It makes it a lot more expensive. But that's not true. These professionals will make it a more efficient process and quite frankly, they probably bill at a lower hourly rate than the attorneys do, right?
They may. So, I wouldn't say that having all of these professionals would cause it to be more expensive. Divorce can be an expensive process, but the more time an attorney spends on it, filing motions, litigating, going into court is what really hikes up the price, because the more time the attorney spends on it, then the more money you end up spending. Whereas with the collaborative process, yes, you have these professionals, but they may not be putting in the same amount of time as if they were in the litigation phase. So I wouldn't say that having all these professionals would cause it to be more expensive.
And the expertise of an attorney, a little bit about the financial piece and a little bit about the parenting piece, but you don't have the same level of expertise as these neutral professionals, right?
Right. You don't. And just like if we were in litigation, if your case is such that an expert is required, you would still have to hire an expert in order to prove certain things to court. And that can get expensive. So yes, the attorney is equipped to give you the legal advice. But when it comes to the other things, whether it's through the mental health specialist or the financial, the accountant, the attorney won't be able to give you that level of advice as it relates to, something that an expert will give you and a financial expert will give you advice on.
I've heard some people say the court system was really never set up for families. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Tricky question, right? So I will say that I think it may take some time. Sometimes it may take some time to get your divorce or your parenting case to a conclusion, to get to court. There are the court system. There are a lot of cases. There are a lot of cases before our judges, and so it may take a little longer than expected to get a particular hearing or to get a trial date. So going through the collaborative process will definitely shorten that time frame for you, because you're not waiting for a court date from a judge's office, and you're not having to wait a year for a trial if that's where your case is going. So being able to go through the collaborative process and still get all the information you need from these experts, get the legal advice from your attorney, sit down and make sound decisions without having to wait for the court to give you trial dates and so on, is really ideal.
And sometimes part of what people think is that when they get in front of the judge, they're going to get to tell their story and the judge is going to side with them. It doesn't really work that way, does it?
You really never know. The court has the court has discretion, and you never know which way. The attorney can definitely give you advice on what they believe, right, and can give you advice on what the law says, but you really never know. When you bring your case to the judge, you never know what the judge is going to decide. No one can ever tell you that. So it is a risk that you take, as opposed to going to the mediation route or collaborative process where you get to make that decision yourself. You get to decide what you're going to compromise on.
And ultimately what your post-divorce life is going to look like.
Right. Absolutely.
So as I said earlier, we're doing this ahead of Divorce with Respect Week, which is coming up March 1st through 8th. And during that time, people can talk with divorce professionals such as yourself for free, with a free consultation that week.
Yes.
If somebody is going to schedule a consultation with you, what should they expect to learn, and how should they prepare for that consultation?
So to prepare for that, we actually, once you book a consult with us, we actually send you some value tips and some information on the divorce process, on the parenting process, the court system, to get you prepared and to answer certain questions that you may have even prior to coming to speak to the attorney, right? So you want to make sure that you gather your documents and your questions, make a list of all the questions that you have, and then at the consult, you can bring a list of your goals, where you want to see yourself at the end of the divorce process, so that the attorney can better understand what the issues are and what your goals are and where you want to be to best be able to get you there.
And part of the importance of that list of questions is that you get into the room and suddenly you forget and you go, oh, I meant to ask.
Yeah. That's why it's better to ahead of time jot down those questions. And, if you forget to ask something, you can just give us a call back and, someone from the office will get on the phone with you and answer your questions.
So if you would like to schedule a consultation with Cynthia or another a professional during Divorce with Respect Week, go to divorcewithrespectweek.com, navigate to the Florida section, and you'll find Cynthia listed there and others that you can reach out to talk with. If someone wants just more information about you and want to reach out to you directly, Cynthia, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, they can call the office at 954-745-8051, or they can go on our website, and from there they can book a consult, and that is I'm going to repeat that again, www.lauristonlawfirm.com.
All right. We will put all of that information in the show notes. Cynthia, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invite. It was a pleasure.
And I want to thank you for watching the Respectful Divorce Podcast. This reminder that Divorce with Respect Week is coming up March 1st through 8th. You can talk with divorce professionals, including attorneys, financial professionals, divorce coaches, for free, simply by going to divorcewithrespectweek.com to find a professional near you. Divorce with Respect Week, March 1st through 8th, and that website, once again, www.divorcewithrespectweek.com. I'm Tim Crouch for the Respectful Divorce Podcast, reminding you that collaborative divorce is a better way to untie the knot.